up and coming traders is a really great offer and a great opportunity in my opinion. But I'm personally interested in creation of the algos. Based on blockchain, Upbot says that the major point difference between its platform and those offered by competitors lies in how it's based on blockchain. To ensure the platform runs seamlessly, Upbots have created a new token called UBXT. This will be used to pay for the fees associated with copy trading, bots, and referrals. The company says it is the best way to offer a completely decentralized and honest trading service. This is going to be interesting. A private sale is initially going to be held with UBXT priced at 1 cent. This round will have a hard capital of $500,000, $500,000, and 6-month locking period. What does this mean? You cannot sell your coins for 6 months. Just like an IPO, an initial public offering, for the pre-IPO investors who invested before the IPO, there's going to be a lockup period for any venture capitalists or private equity firms. For Uber, Lyft, Beyond Meat, all these big IPOs, there was private investors who were on board funding it from Series A all the way, right? So they already have shares in the company, and when it goes public, well, then they have liquidity and they can cash out if they want. They didn't have that option beforehand. Same as this. If you buy at 0.01, you have no liquidity until there's a market, until there is an exchange and there's bid and asks buying and selling this asset. There's going to be no liquidity, and this 6-month locking period is going to be basically, you cannot sell whatever amount of money you put into this asset for 6 months. And then after that 6 months, hopefully there's liquidity, and hopefully there are areas within exchanges that you're able to sell this if you would like. But I think this is a very interesting opportunity. After this community sale will be held at Hardcraft, $250 for 4-month locking period. So it's an opportunity. It's an ICO, I believe, and it's a coin. Well, it is an ICO because they're offering a coin. But I'll do more digging into it because this is an opportunity. We don't really see ICOs too often, but this is an exchange token like Binance Coin. So I do think that it will have a lot of value if this Upbots becomes relevant in the retail trading space. That will be something that would be very, very interesting to potentially invest in. So we'll dig into this and actually probably do a review on if this is an opportunity that would be interesting. I personally don't love investing in something without something of a chart. I understand, but we'll get into it a little bit later in probably another video. The first version of Upbots dashboard is set to launch in the second half of 2020, paving the way for the company's mobile application to launch in early 2021. So definitely we got a little bit of ways before anything really foundational is going to be coming in. But it's still interesting nonetheless, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out as time goes on here. So that is the news topics. Hopefully you enjoyed it. The next thing we are going to be looking at is the BTC market updates. So let's go to the larger time frames and then zoom back in. We see we got a pretty significant surge of buy volume here because of the Fed basically saying that they're going to print unlimited amounts of currency in order to support the American citizens, which they don't really have an option. They kind of have to do whatever it takes in order to support their citizens, because we'll talk about it in the global macro update, but there are going to be millions of people having job claims and looking for EI or unemployment insurance. Millions, 2.25 million. That's what they're saying. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how gold, silver, and cryptocurrencies will react to this upcoming looming potential depression, definitely a recession. All right, so let's go and break down the monthly for a little bit, and then mainly going to talk about the weekly here because obviously it's a new week. Got the nice Monday morning. So we got 8 days left on March. So we got a little bit of time here. It does look like we are holding this zone, as we can see. Key level of support. Now, we could draw it in different locations, but at the end of the day, it does look like it's holding around that zone, which is good. And it's just a matter of if we're going to hold around 6. I personally do not think we will, but That's basically all I have left for that. What I think I'm going to do is just take off some of these like so, and then also I'm not going to have that 200 or the 50 EMA, and then I'm going to go and draw our triangle. As we can see right here, this is on the weekly very, very well. As we can see, this major large symmetrical triangle that we currently are holding, and let's just put that right there. I'm just trying to find the best fit line for our trade here. So I think that might be it. Let's just close this. Because we see it's not, obviously it's a monthly chart. If we go on the weekly, we might actually be able to have a little bit more of a refined line. Let's analyze. Yep, I'm happy with that zone. Very, very similar to the weekly chart. I don't even think I'm going to have this, to be honest. Because it might go like this. You know, this major support zone, I'm very, very open to shifting in a way. Kind of like that. So it's a best fit line. I am going to take that off right now, just so we have a good understanding of kind of the larger monthly time frame that we're looking at. So that's our best fit line. I'm pretty happy with that triangle. We're currently at our level of support. I do think that we are going to be testing this zone a little bit further, but this is the major structural pattern that I currently see, is this major symmetrical triangle. I think that we will be able to hold a higher low above this zone like so, in my personal opinion. That's going to be the low there. I think we are able to hold at these lows here, maybe get another test of the 41, but that's my personal view of the market. And if it drops below, then so be it. We will have another potential level of support below the zone, like so. So we got a couple of options for potential areas of support. We're not going to try to call the bottom. I think that's what a lot of people are, maybe not a lot of people, but some people who don't really understand market structure will say, I'm going to buy exactly at 4,200 and it's going to be the bottom because I did all my technical analysis and it's going to hit right there and jump straight back up. Well, most of the time it's probably not going to do that. It's going to go a little bit too far. It's not going to go there. It just does not make sense to have no real plan in terms of picking a direction. So we wait for market structure and price action to give us confirmation for a shift in trend. But on the monthly, we'll see this on the weekly because it's a lot more clear to see on the weekly in terms of the price action. But we push down, we're pulling back up here, making a lower high, and I think we will come back down to test that low there. So on the monthly, it's pretty hard to tell, but on the weekly, I do think that it is a lot easier to see. So let's get our snip and then discuss the weekly chart. So like I said, we got our anchor point, and then we got our first touch. Second touch, third touch, very valid zone for the descending area. We got our anchor point right here. We got 1, 2, and this is our third. So we got a nice squeeze here within the price action. And what do we see right now? We saw a bounce off the ascending level of support, and we're getting a rejection right here from the previous support, which is now going to be a new level of resistance. So right now, in my opinion, I think we're going to go from up here because we're still holding an ascending wedge like that. Kind of want like that. We're kind of here. So we broke the ascending wedge, but we're still at a resistance and we haven't made that massive move to the downside yet, really. We actually shot up a little bit this morning. So we haven't really broken the zone yet, but it does look like we are forming a bit of an ascending wedge here. And then we could see another fall back down to around this zone. And it's just a matter of if we're going to hold it. Holding our major structural level of support for the ascending support right here, or if we're going to fall back down, and then we would have to kind of take a look at our overall structure a little bit more. We could move this to here, and then that would shift this down here, so then that could be the area of support. That's something that we could do, but as of now, I'm pretty happy with where the current outline of the structures, which would be right here and which would be right here. So we're just basically at the low of the structure right now. So we're going to be being cautious, but that's the overall outlook, is this nice little ascending wedge right here is what we're looking for. So that's the weekly. The CME futures on the Chicago Mercantile didn't really gap or anything. Let's look at the 4-hour. No real major gaps to really talk about on the 4-hour or daily or anything. So not really too much to discuss on this exchange. Let's go back to the 4-hour because we're just chilling. Really mainly just looking at the gaps on this exchange. And this is the Gemini daily chart. Already talked about this as a major level of resistance on basically every other video, every other crypto market that we've seen. So initially, yeah, we did short here and we did get stopped out, but we can see our actual area of resistance is pretty well bang on. We can see that there's wicks projecting up a bit, but at the end of the day, we're not seeing the price go above the zone and hold on the daily chart. So this level of around 64, 65 is a significant level of resistance. We have to understand that it's a confluent zone, and we can see that there's a lot of sell pressure within this area. And what we can see right here, and what I'm currently looking at on the smaller time frames, is this potential price action pattern is we see a push down, we're seeing a wedge like this, maybe not like that, anchor point from here, and then you see a nice wedge like that, and then you're seeing another wedge like that. So it's not perfect on the daily, but this is kind of what I'm looking at. And then we see a lot of sell pressure right here, as we can see with the wicks, as well as the confluent zone. So it's a nice wedge, and I think that having a nice little pullback, previous level of support, testing that again would not be too far off for a potential opportunity that we could be capturing. We've been having this bias for a little while, been patient, but it's just not coming down. It's remaining to hold above that zone. So we're currently seeing a nice level of resistance turning into a new level of support, which is, yeah, more bullish in that structure right there. I do agree with that. And if we do break this zone, I think that we could get another strong bullish push up because there's a lot of sellers around this area, I'm sure. I got out for my short of BTC, but I'm sure there's people still selling around this area. If it does go back up, we do have the next key zone around 7,800. We also have this descending zone, potentially create a confluent zone as well. We have the high, lower high, lower high, lower high, so creating a confluent zone around the $77-ish $100 level of resistance. That's going to be the next level if we do break this zone. And if we fall, next level of support is around 48. So that's where we're currently at on the daily chart. Hopefully that gives you a good understanding of where we currently are on the overall outlook. So this is that ascending wedge I was talking about, and we pushed up here. So let's just talk about market structure. This 6K support has just not been able to break. Support, resistance, resistance, support, support, support. It's just not been able to break. We had a break in our ascending zone. We can see right here, we see our anchor point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we broke down, pulled back, validating previous supports as new level of resistance. Looking really, really phenomenal. I was expecting the price to fall and break below the 6K zone, but unfortunately it did not. It got rejected and pushed back up, surprisingly. So we know that this 6K zone is very, very strong, and it was a previous resistance, new level of support. It's looking less ideal for sure. The short is still in play because we still have a resistance here. In terms of, oh, I just opened something I shouldn't have here. Give me one moment. In terms of where we currently are, this line right here is still in play for a resistance, as we can see. And then this line is also in play for another level of resistance, right? Because it was a support, it broke, now it's going to be a new level of resistance. So this zone right here is a strong level of sell pressure. We also haven't broken the high. And this horizontal zone is going to be another level where price is kind of hesitating to go above. So we still do see that the price is holding below our main area. But if it does go above right here, I'm probably going to say that this ascending wedge is just not able to push the price down, because this was our first attempt. I was a little surprised we didn't break this zone. And if we go above our major level where we currently are, that is going to be my final kind of goodbye of this price action pattern, and I'll have to kind of reassess the overall market. But if it sticks below this area, I know that the trade is still valid, and the short, in my opinion, is still a potential opportunity. So finally, on the 1 hour chart here, let's make it a nice structure like so. And then pull this back a little bit. Let's pull that back. Okay, I'm pretty happy with where all the lines are. So this is the 1 hour chart. We see same thing. Our resistance supported pretty well. Got a fake out there. So this was the initial trade. We had the double top right here, and then we had an ascending zone right here, squeeze. This was a bit of an ascending wedge at the top of a major resistance, and it cracked down, retested, and that's where we entered at the major resistance. So it looked pretty good of a potential trade. Unfortunately, it didn't play out because we went here and then we went back up, but that's how it goes. It's okay. And then we came crashing back down into the wedge. That was a little bit frustrating. And then we came back and kind of played around with it, and then we broke below the wedge, retested previous support as a new level of resistance right around here. As we can see, not perfect, but previous level of support, previous level of support, new level of resistance, new level of resistance. It rejected twice, and that second rejection really gave us that indication that we could be seeing some sell pressure to come, which is that area right around here. Once that came in, and then we saw the lower high, I was like, okay, this is going to look like it's going to come down, but it didn't, right? It didn't. It held. Once it held, and then there was some bullish news, I guess, from the Fed, we got our pump up. And then now we're still below this zone. It's a zone of confluence because we see the last final horizontal zone of resistance right here at around 64 is in confluence with our ascending zone, as we can see right here. So it's still in my opinion, bearish territory. But if it goes above our 64 level, I'm just going to take out this ascending support and take out this and look at it in a different way, because clearly it's just not able to push the price down, and I'll be actually looking for longs because this is a pretty damn good pattern in my opinion. Look at that support. We see a very clear, very bottom anchor point, and that's what we're looking for. We see 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we see a rejection first and then second rejection. So we see 2 rejections off there, validating that zone. So in my opinion, that was a pretty damn good setup. And it still looks like a potential opportunity for our shorts, but it's not looking ideal. It's not looking as good as what we had, I think, a day or two ago. All right, I got some water there. Now going to the shorts and longs. So what this is representing is the amount of long positions that are opened on margin on the Bitfinex exchange for the top chart, and then vice versa for the shorts on the bottom chart is going to be the total amount of margin shorts that are opened on Bitfinex. And we can see that the shorts have been gaining confidence or have been seeing more short positions opened. You can see it broke through kind of the recent highs that we've seen for the shorts. So it's made a new high. That's more bullish for the shorts. It's more confidence for the shorts. And we can see strong level of support all along here, strong level of resistance all along here, and it could come up again to make that previous level of resistance a new level of support, which would be more confidence for the sellers. And then same thing, but opposite for the buyers. Previous level of resistance right here turned into a new level of support with lots of volume coming in. And then once we got the confidence loss basically from the dump from 10K, we now are seeing the sellers gain more confidence, and the buyers are again not able to push the price, not able to get more margin longs open above this zone. So now we're kind of in a consolidation where buyers aren't really opening many long positions. So not a lot of room for any real squeezes because there'd be a lot of short sellers if we were looking for a short squeeze, but there's just a low amount of buy interest compared to some other times. Obviously, we do see price appreciation in terms of the asset price, so there is interest, but there are still sellers coming into the market. I don't think that we're going to start our bull run, in my personal opinion. I do think that we're going to have more bearish momentum come in before we hit back where we were back in 2019 here, the 10s and the 9s and all that stuff. So I think the bearish momentum is still going to come a little bit further, and inevitably we will break out of it, but it's just a matter of when. So that is the analysis for BTC. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Going to get a little bit of coffee, and then we'll go on to the different alts that we are looking at. All right. So next thing we're going to be looking at is the alts here. Starting off is Ethereum. Quick look at gold and silver here. They're actually doing very well, so it kind of makes sense potentially that the crypto market is doing a little better. But don't want to trade just based off of precious metals, especially like intraday moves, really. So this is Ethereum. Basically, for a major macro look, we looked at the daily and weekly yesterday for Ethereum, but basically we have a series of higher lows, as we can see, with a horizontal level we've been holding right around there. We did get it push up previous times, but I'm really looking at this 137-ish range for a resistance, and we're seeing higher lows. We broke the ascending zone. We pushed down. We held a support, and we tested a previous support as a new level of resistance. I thought it was going to go down like BTC, but it shot up here. Retesting our resistance, not loving the price coming all the way back up here. I did not get stopped out, so I'm still in the trade. I'm still holding. It's just a matter of we're going to hopefully see the price come back down here after this break. I did think that this trend line was a fairly respected zone. We see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 4 touches is a dependable zone for me. And we see more than that. So it is a dependable zone in my opinion. And we're just testing these zones one more time. Hopefully before we get a major move to the downside. We got our first take profit right here. Second take profit at around $85, because that's the low of Ethereum of 2018 when Bitcoin was at 3.2K. Ethereum was around $85, which sounds crazy that it's under $100, but gotta look at the price action, not the actual price, especially when markets are in panic mode. Don't want to be looking at a price saying this is super cheap, because it could drop who knows how much more. So that's basically the trade for Ethereum. There's not a whole lot changed there. My bias is exactly the same, so I'm not really going to be changing my ideas or my thought process, because even with the new price action, my bias is exactly the same, basically. All right, this is XRP. Let's go to the 4-hour here. Same thing, we were drawing an ascending wedge, which it does look like it is. It pushed to the downside, retesting the previous support as a new level of resistance. We saw another minor, small, little trend line here, an ascending triangle pattern. We broke out. We tested this level of support right around here. We were able to hold it. So now we're kind of in a trending mark here, where this is the resistance. But the fact that we didn't push down further just makes me feel like there's confidence in the buyers, to be completely honest. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's making me not want to short as much, because just looking at where the current price is now, double top, let's look at the smaller time frames. There's probably a bearish engulfing candle with a no demand. Not really. This is a no demand right here, but it's not really at the top. Like, seeing the top candle, no demand would be an ideal situation. But, you know, this is a potential trade that we could drop right here, and then hopefully it passes this zone. We'd be looking at potential take profits at around here. For another short opportunity if we are looking for it, but we would want to really make sure that our bias is hopefully correct, because we already have Ethereum still in play. So still looking at XRP as a short, not looking at longing XRP just yet. Link is a little bit more interesting for a long, but XRP currently still for me is not. I'm not entering this just yet. I will notify premium members if I do, but these trades in this volatile market has been definitely a little bit more challenging with market news coming in. For example, today the Fed announced that they will print literally as much as they need in order to save the economy, which is good for the people that are currently suffering, not good for inflation in the long term, and is good for assets that have a fixed amount of supply, like gold, silver, and Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. So it's kind of why we saw the pump, in my opinion. So during market crises, there's going to be a lot of economic news, and it's going to affect the price here. So we got to make sure that we are giving price room. Ethereum gave a lot of room, like 9% is a lot of room, and we're still able to hold that trade, and it's looking a lot more favorable now. So we just need to ensure that we are giving the price more than enough room when we are entering trades. All right, Link for me is just actually we took a trade on this, took an L. This was the entry right here. We got a little bit of a pop up right here, and then a 15-minute we had a little bit of a bearish engulfing candle right here with a no demand and then a pushing down of the sellers. So then we thought this was a really good entry for a pullback because this was a really nice head and shoulders, as we can see. If you can't see it, there's a double right shoulder, mind you, so you might not see it, but hopefully you're able to understand. This is the left shoulder, right? This is the head, double top head. And this is the right shoulder. So you get a right shoulder, but it didn't break, it came back. So you can have two tests here. This theoretical right shoulder had 1 and then a 2 held this right shoulder and then pushed down. And then we were looking for a pullback. This was the pullback and we entered right here, stop loss right here. We were expecting the price to get down to these lows here, ideally. Got stuffed at this key level of resistance. We could not get the price to go down, but that was the overall outlook for this trade. We saw the double right shoulder get rejected, 1, 2. We drew a trend line in from that zone. We were hoping to see, even if it squeezed, even if it squeezed and held the support that it did hold for a little bit, I was hoping to see this descending zone hold the price down. So even if it did hold this zone, we get another squeeze and hopefully we would have got that dump down, but unfortunately we did not get that to happen. So that's unfortunate, it happens, but the fact that we are now above this zone makes me a little bit more bullish. But BTC is looking like it's not in a great situation, so I'm not looking too long. But that was a trade overall. Right now, I'm not really sure exactly which way it's going to go or anything. I thought I had a good trade, but clearly it did not yield me positive results. So we're just going to sit and wait, basically. Let's just see if this... Yeah, even that trend line. Like, that was a pretty fucking good entry, I thought. But it happens. That's not a problem. Theoretically, if I guess we're gonna draw this trend line, I could have put my stop loss a little bit higher up here. But you know that risk rewards 1.4 to the major level of support. So it wasn't ideal. It's okay. I'm happy with that overall trade, even though it was lost. You can't get mad at yourself for every single trade. So that is Link. At this point in time, not really interested in entering Link as of now. Not much more to add on this because I don't really see an entry I can clearly identify. So I'm gonna get some coffee and then we'll go on to BNB. Really quickly, because they're all the same, like BNB and EOS. EOS actually has not yet broken its ascending trend line, as you can see. So that's something to consider, but BNB has, and it's in a very similar position, right at kind of the resistance zone right around here. So it's just a matter of if we're going to break or not, but we're already looking at potentially XRP and we're already in Ethereum. So there's not a whole lot of action that needs to be taken at this point in time. So that's BNB. Similar structure, main level of resistance around $13, $14, $13.50 to $14, very significant level of resistance. And EOS is kind of not doing anything I'm really interested in other than this ascending zone. That's kind of the only thing I'm interested in for EOS at this time. I don't really see anything else that I absolutely love. So that's basically the trade. I could draw this zone right here. So that's a bit of a squeeze here. We could see on the hour chart, you know, if we break to the upside, that could be an opportunity. We just have to be mindful of this potential descending zone and the horizontal zone that we will probably see right around here. So we got a mid-range zone, a support zone around $1.70, and a resistance zone around $2.50. But if you come back here, pull back a little bit, that's a pretty solid move, 9%. If we're looking at the 15 or 5-minute, that's a potential little push that we could see on a minor level. It's not a scalp because it's like a 6-7% trade, right? But if you're risking 1.5-ish%, if you're taking 6-5% home, that's a great risk reward trade. So we're looking for 2.5, 3.5 risk reward. 4 is obviously great, but that's in this market pushing it a little bit in my opinion. I'm looking for a little bit less ideal risk reward because it's more volatile, it's more uncertain, and then when we get more of a trending market, we can have a better risk reward situation. But different market structures have to have different ways of trading. You're not going to trade a consolidation the same as you're going to be trading a major bull market, obviously. So that is the overall crypto market update. Hopefully everyone enjoyed it. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment section below. We will be doing a economic global macro update, so we're going over things like gold, silver, SPY, US dollars, stuff like that. That is more pertaining to the different asset classes and not just cryptocurrency, because in this market it's very important in my opinion to understand what other asset classes are doing. We also look at oil and commodities and whatnot. So thank you very much for watching, and until next time, happy trading everyone.